Directly ask a question here. Asking right process. Give me a best tip for you can ask a question, submit it. This will start fetching the responses. So it is saying that is it AI 900? I didn't type any AI 900, but still it is fetching it. It is providing the breadth of the topics like AI workload, machine learning concept, NLP, computer vision, responsible AI. So look at that responses. It is pretty much straightforward and it is aligned with our Microsoft AI 900 objectives as well. So that's the power of DeepSeek R1 model implementation using Streamlit application, and you'll able to build any type of web application chatbot using Streamlit application also. So that's it. Thank you so much, Gomati, and thank you so much, Clevin, for your time as well, because I'm taking your time. Sorry. Sorry for that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, we are delighted to welcome Clevin Fernandez to our session today. Clevin is a Microsoft Business Application MVP and a leader of the Power Platform user group, that is where he actively contributes to the Power Platform community. So, he's a solution engineer at Clevin. If your designation has been changed, I'm just looking into the LinkedIn and explaining about it. Please let me know. Okay. So Clevin specializes in designing and implementing cutting edge solutions that drive business efficiency. His expertise in Power Automate has earned him the title of Power Automate Super User, making him a go-to expert for automation and workflow optimization. So, beyond his technical contribution, Clevin is also a blogger and a speaker, sharing his deep knowledge and insight on Power Platform, automation, and business application with professional worldwide. So, we are excited to hear from you today, Clevin. Please, you can start your session.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you very much. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Perfect, perfect. So, hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to the Global Power Platform Bootcamp. Okay, I'm situated in the UK. It's afternoon. I know that it is night in India, but you are still here, 25 people. So, pat on your back, and let's get into my session. So, this is the sixth Power Platform Bootcamp. I have been a part of the Global Power Bootcamp for almost 6 years. I used to present for the Pune Tech community in person, but now I have moved, so I'm doing things virtually. That being said, what's the session for today? We are going to learn about Power Apps virtual React components. Um, when I say that, how many of you in the session know about React? How many of you know about virtual components? If you know about it, you learn something new. If you don't know about it, and if you're not a pro developer, follow along. One thing that I can tell you and promise that no matter if you're not an expert in writing code, it doesn't matter today. You have AI with you, you have ChatGPT, you have Copilot. You just need to understand the basics. Once you understand the basics and the framework, writing code is pretty easy. I don't write code full time as well, but still I managed to go ahead and create React components, right? So just follow along. Any questions, please ping it in the chat. And that's pretty much it. Um, Let me quickly introduce myself. I have already been introduced, but I'm a business applications MVP. I'm a solutions consultant or a solutions engineer at Nutrient.io. I'm a Power Platform super user. I also run a user group known as ppug.org. I run my blog and I also run a YouTube channel. I'll quickly run through it. This is my blog. This is my YouTube channel. This is the user group. We are located in the UK. We actually go ahead and have one event a month. It's a recent user group, so not many. The next event is on the 28th. We have Sunil Kumar presenting and I'm presenting as well. It will be continuation to this topic. And this topic will focus on the very basics, right? About Power Platform virtual components. But in the next one, we are going to take it ahead and maybe talk about how you can use web SDKs in Power Apps component or the virtual components. And it's going to happen next week. That being said, Zoom is coming in between the way. So I think that's pretty much it. So what are code components? Okay. Code components, also known as PCF, Power Apps Component Framework, is a way for developers to create special features in your Power App. They can be UI-based features. There can be logic in your feature. It can make your Power Apps look good. And sometimes what is not possible out of the box, you can go ahead and create it. What is code components? You write code, it becomes a code component. A code component is basically a solution component, which means you can include it in the solution file. You develop it for one organization and reuse it in another organization as well. So you can go between the environments by importing your code components. There are two main types, managed and unmanaged. If you have not been to the PCF gallery yet, you should go there and get some inspiration on writing code components. That being said, what are the prerequisites of writing code component? You should be a developer. Okay, no, you need to know basics of development. You need to understand Power Apps as well. But when it comes to the toolings, you need to have some tools installed on your computer. And I hope that you have these tools installed on your computer, right? One of the tools that you need to have installed is Visual Studio Code. Everyone, I assume and I hope that have Visual Studio Code installed if you are working with Microsoft Tech. You should have Node.js installed, you should have Power Platform CLI installed, and you should have .NET Build tools installed. Now, what are .NET Build tools? They are used for building applications. You can go ahead and install it. Or if you have Visual Studio, you can actually use the Visual Studio developer prompt, which looks like this. Okay. So that being said, I want to go ahead and start provisioning my project. Okay, so just bear with me and let me provision the project first. So let me actually go into a folder and start provisioning the project. This is going to be a demo based project. And trust me, before starting, actually, I should pray a minute to the demo god, right? Demo god, please make this work. Don't embarrass me, etc., etc. Trust me, praying to demo god really, really works. Last time I didn't pray, I actually tripped from the stage. Okay, my demo worked, but I tripped. So uh, the moral of the story is pray to the demo gods. So what I'm going to do, right? I'm going to go ahead and start writing some code. We'll start provisioning our project. So first things first, let's create a new folder because we need to create a folder. I'll rename my folder. I will not type the entire things because I have fat fingers and that will take more time. So I have created a folder named as popover control. I CD'd into the folder. I changed the directory of the folder. I'm going to right click on show more options and type and open in Visual Studio Code. Now this will open my Visual Studio Code editor. I spoke about the prerequisites such as Power Platform CLI. If you don't have Power Platform CLI, what you can do is you can also go to the marketplace and type in Power Platform Tools. You can install Power Platform Tools. You need to install Node on your computer. How do you install Node on your computer? You go to Node.js and install it. How do you install Power Platform CLI? This is the article. Everything is well documented. .NET Tools. This is the article, right? So install the prerequisites. I'm not going to spend time talking about the prerequisites because it is very well documented. Okay, it's there in almost all Microsoft articles. Now, what I'm going to do, now you have installed the Power Platform tools, right? That's good. How do you know that your Power Platform tools are well installed? You type in pack. Uh, does anybody know what pack stands for? I'm going to open the chat, right? This is a question. I need this to be a bit interactive, or I will assume that all of you 24 people have gone asleep. So can someone tell me or type in what is the meaning of pack? Or what is the full form of pack? I don't know it. Come on, any guesses?
For automation
Ah,
now.
no, there is no fixed meaning of it. I don't know why Microsoft named this, but when I was talking to the product group, they said that it might stand for Power Apps CLI. It's a command line interface. That's why it is. So if you see pack, command line interface gives you tools for administration, building application, authentication, canvas, catalog, copilot, and so on, right? What are we interested in? We are interested in components. What is the shorter form of the component? Power Apps Component Framework stands for PCF, right? So we are going to go ahead and initialize a PCF component. How do we do that? We can type in pack PCF init dash n, right? What does n stands for? The name of the component. I will say I should just type in, I should actually start copy pasting, but let's see how far I can get with it. Component, and then I can type in ns, right? And I need to give it a namespace. At this point, I'm going to copy things because I will have 1,000 typos or else, right? And then after I have the namespace, each component needs to have a namespace. I'll type in T. T types T stands for the type. The type can be a field or a data field or a data set or a data grid. And here I will type in the framework. So what framework are we going to use? We are going to use React and we are going to do an npm. What does npm stands for? It's doing an npm install. So if our command is correct, it will do an npm install. And at this point, you see that our project is starting to provision. It's going to come to life. So at this point, let the project provision. I have few slides. I usually don't have many slides, to be very honest, but I need few slides, right? I need to at least talk about something. So there are two types of components, okay? There is a standard component and there is the virtual React component. What is a standard component? A standard component, I written React Fluent, and this is taken from a Microsoft article. I think Hemant went ahead and wrote about it. I might link the article in the description as well. So it's his diagram. Thank you, Hemant. So he tells that a standard component will reuse the React and Fluent dependencies. And it will be, you can write it in JavaScript, you can write it in TypeScript, you don't even need to use React. It basically, the standard component means manipulating the DOM. 1 year back, exactly 1 year back, the same Delhi user group, I did a session on standard code components. I don't know if Dhruvan is in here online, but he can point you to that particular session. I think that I did a good job in that session, but if you need it, we can link you to that. So if you're trying to create a standard component, you're just fresh out of college, don't know much about React, but want to learn something with basic JavaScript, standard component is where you start. I started with a standard component. Okay. How does the standard component code look? It looks like HTML and JavaScript, right? Here you see that I create a container, I append a child to the container, and then I start writing logic in it, right? That, my friends, is a standard component. What we are here to learn, React component. So React code components are components which reuse React and Fluent. So if you have multiple code components, they'll use the framework. That's why they are more efficient, they are more performant, they have got a small package size, right? How does the code look? The code looks like this, simpler. Some people might debate if they don't know React, this is difficult, but it's simpler. That's the reason why the world went towards React, right? Everybody said bye bye JavaScript. Not bye bye JavaScript, but you get my point, right? They went to React. That being said, what are the benefits of using React components? Fluent UI is one of the benefits, right? If you have not used Fluent UI, it's a Microsoft based design system. What is a design system? A design system follows a set of rules. For example, it will Fluent UI follows the rule of Microsoft UI. That means all of their controls are delicately created to match the Microsoft user interface, right? They go through rigorous testing. What does that mean? That means the code components are tested and there are not many bugs. They are ready-made components, right? Etc. etc. So if you see, it has better memory management. As I told you, it increases the performance, and the other benefits would be it is scalable for the virtual components, as well as you can easily build and maintain the React code. We already spoke about Fluent UI, and this is what it is. I hope that there are no questions as of now. Okay, I take that as a no. So here, if you see, our code component has been provisioned. Very good. No errors as of now. Good. I think the demo gods are okay till now. I'll not say that they are happy. But if you want to go ahead and see this code component in action, what you can do is npm run build. This will build your code component. We'll go through the entire code component together, but this will build your code component, and then we can also see the code component in action, right? In the meantime, I'll just move this blog here because I want a browser that I can use. So it's building. We need to wait. We need to pray that there are no errors while building. Not to be honest, I practiced this session at least 3 times. That's why. And I had no errors. So fingers crossed. Okay, no errors till now. And I'll say npm start watch. I want to watch my code component, right? You can take that in this particular scenario. What it will do, it will launch your local workbench, and it will show you what your code component actually looks like. Okay, so let's hold on tight and let's see how does it look. It looks like this. Okay, fantastic. Clevin hyped so much, and what Clevin shows is that hello Power Apps. We'll build something good. But that being said, you have got input fields, which is known as the sample property. So this is the property bag. Remember the names that I'm using. This is the property bags. There are properties in the property bag. This is the canvas where the properties from the property bags will be passed. Okay. And once now what we need to understand, we need to go ahead and understand how we can how we can create properties in the property bag, how we can pass the properties in, manipulate the properties or show the properties on the screen, and also return the properties. That's what we are going to go ahead and discuss. For this particular demo, I named it popover control. Anybody knows what popover control is? The popover control looks like? The popover control looks like this. We are going to use a Fluent UI component and just bake it into our code component. What does the popover component do? When I click on the popover component, it goes ahead and has a heading. Firstly, it has a button. It looks like a button. It has a name on the button. It has a heading and it has a subheading. We'll use this component in our PCF, or you can say the virtual React code component. Now, if you look at this, I can click on this and it can open a sandbox. In fact, if I go here, there's also a storybook associated with it. So what I want to show you is that this is so well documented when it comes to these things, right? Let that provision, but this is what we are going to use. Okay, we are going to use this sample code. If you look at the sample code, if you have used React in the past, you might say, Clevin, this is really good. You know why? Because they have written the whole code for you and we are just going to copy paste it. Right? So this is good. I will minimize my screen and go back. Now that the code component is running, and I'll I'll exit my running state and I'll go back into my Visual Studio Code, right? The Visual Studio Code. Um, let's quickly go through the project structure and then we will move ahead with other things. So let's look at the project structure. First folder, node modules. What is a node module? A node module is a folder that contains all of your dependencies, right? You will see multiple files here. Do you need to know all the files? Maybe not. If you're using an external dependency, you need to understand how to use that external dependency. You'll find everything out here, right from Webpack to, I would say, even Bluebird and even some things related to ESLint, right? In the next session that I'm going to do, I'm going to use a third party. So I need to know the third party libraries. Then I have the out folder. It is where my code component will be written. There's nothing fancy about it. This folder, this folder, very important. We'll skip it. No, we'll not skip it. We will go into details when it comes to this folder. Okay. I want to get into detail, so I will skip it for now and we'll complete every file and then come back to this folder because this is where the folder is where the real magic happens. Okay. So I cannot skip it. Trust me, I'm going to come back to it. That being said, we have the ESLint config. ESLint config are the set of rules for programming. If you want to break some rule, set the rule to off, right? That's what ESLint is. ESLint is good. Package.json, it tells you what packages are being used in your code component. Same with package log.json. I'll open the package.json. Now, most importantly, what is the latest version of React? I think it's 19. We are using 16. Okay. The thing that I want to tell you is that you have to use 16. Microsoft will upgrade at some time. So if there's a package not compatible with 16 and there's a component that only works with 19, you might get into problem. So just understand that this might be the reason of your error, right? Same with Fluent UI, it is 9.46.2, right? This is the output folder. This is the instructions to build your project, right? Now that being said, let's get back to the very important folder. Just make some more space because we want to see what's there in the folder, right? If I skip the git ignore, but if you're going ahead and checking the file into a code repository, or you can say a source control repo, you will use git control to ignore few files. Okay. So I'm in the popover component out here, and here you see I have the generated folder. The generated folder has got manifest.types. Manifest.types, you see sample property. If you were paying attention, sample property is the property out here. What does it say? It is a property that is auto-generated. This file, my friends, you don't have to touch. That's what it is. You just have to use it. That's all. This file will be updated when we go ahead and make changes to none other than the control.manifest files, right? I'll quickly look at the chat to see if there are any questions. Perfect, no questions. It seems that everyone is understanding and I'm doing a great job. So pat on my own back. So the control manifest.input file. The control manifest.input file looks like this. So let's get it back. And it provides you the metadata for your PCF control. Okay. What does metadata mean? Metadata means more information about your control. If you see, it tells you what is the namespace of the component, what is the display name of the component, what is the version of the component, what is the description key, and what is the type of control. Yes, it's a virtual component. You see, it gives you metadata about the component. If you're using external services, whether it is third parties, you need to go ahead and pass it here, right? You need to pass it here. There are a few examples. Are we going to use a third party in the beginner level? The answer is no. Do you end up using third parties? Yes, but not many a times. Okay, that's my experience. If you want to use external domains, you can use it here. It can be used as well. We are not going to do something with external domains. I'm cleaning up my code such that at the end of this, you have a clean looking control.manifest.xml file, right? That's what you need. Now, this autocomplete is because of my friend out here, which is Copilot. It always keeps on suggesting me, Clevin, do you want this? Do you want that? No, hold on. I don't want few things, but you get my point, right? That's why it's coming in between. Next, the sample property. Now, we have a sample property out here. That's good. We want to create more properties. But before we create more properties, let's try to understand the sample property. The property has the name, right? We want to name it to something more informative. If we go back to none other than our popover control out here, we want to give the button a name, we need to give a heading, and we need to also give some text, right? That's what we need to give. So I'm giving it a popover button control. That's the property name. I'm going to give it a display name. Give this good display names, or else you will be scratching your head after you go ahead and deploy the solution in your Power Apps in your solutions gallery. Give it a button description. Again, my bad. I'm giving bad names. Don't do what I'm doing, right? Give it good descriptions, etc. That it's of type single line of text. The usage is bound. It can either be input or it can be bound. Bound can be both input and output. Bound is usually bound to a field. Okay, that's what it is. It's required. True. Yes, perfect. Let's create the other two properties out here. If I type it, it will be tomorrow. So let's copy it and let's get it done today. I'll explain you what the other two properties are. The other two properties, as I told you, is the heading and the display. They are of type single line of text, and it is of type required. What I'm going to do is at this point, just to be sure that there are no errors, I'm going to do an npm run build. And I also want to see if the properties are visible in the property in the browser. Okay, let's say that it's populated in the property bag and it's visible in the browser. So this is building. That's good. Depending on the demo gods who are very impressed with me today, it completed. So I'll do an npm start watch. And I'm going to refresh this as soon as this says thumbs up. Okay. Seems to be thumbs up. It built. Here the properties are populated in the property bag or the property pane. Right now you have the properties. That's the first thing. You have the properties. Now you'll say, Clevin, you know that single line of text. What other property types can it support? I'll quickly look at the chat once to just see if there are questions. No questions. That's even better. I will go ahead and adjust the property and I'll do a control S, right? At this point, it gives me an error. But if you look at the error, it tells me what other property types are supported. It tells me Clevin currency is supported, email is supported, single line of text is supported, a ticker is supported, number is supported, a whole number is supported, right? So you have properties in the property bag that you can use, right? If you don't get to understand what particular property it is, go ahead and induce an error and find it out for yourself in this case, right? So that should be it. If you see, I removed the error and now it's again building. So that's pretty good. I told you manifest.d.ts, right? This file gets auto-populated. You don't need to make any changes to it. The next file that I'm going to go to is the component file. So this is where you go ahead and write the code. Now here, if you see, I am passing interface or props, right? I will pass in additional properties out here. I will pass it something. First, I'll go ahead and X this out. Oops, Control C. And I will paste it here. So here I have got three properties, a name, that is the button name, the popover content, and the popover text. I'm going to use these properties. At this point, what I can do is I have populated the properties out here, but the real magic happens in the index.ts file. If you are writing a standard component, this is where you'll write almost all of your code, right? So what is the index.ts file? It is, you can say, the main method or the main file that drives your component. You will have the initialize method, you will have the update method, you'll have the get output and destroy. What does initialize mean? Whenever the component initializes, this is where you go ahead and actually build your HTML that needs to be displayed when the component loads, right? This is what it is. What is the update view? Whenever something changes in the property bag, trigger this. This is the update view. Get output. Whenever there's an output, push it in the output. That's what it is. Destroy. It's used for cleanup. Okay. So what we are going to do, if you see, we need to play around with the iProps in the update view. So we actually provisioned it here, the properties. We created interface here, and now we are going to this file and we are going to go ahead and put in some properties. Now I'm going to go ahead and try to type in one of the properties. So it's name, right? So I'll say context dot. So context is used to access the properties from the property bag. It's known as parameters dot, right? And let's say that I want to access the button property. So it's the button property dot raw. This should go ahead and return me the property. Now, what's an error? It tells me it cannot be null. Okay, it cannot be null. So what I'll do is that I will go ahead and I'll just say or this, right? And I think this is good, right? Similarly, I will create the other properties. I'll quickly go ahead and access other properties from the property bag. I'm just going to paste in some code out here. That's what I'm going to do, right? It gives me an error because I named it differently. So instead of the button heading and instead of the text, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say popover text, right? This is how it will look. Let me just get the code aligned nicely. Perfect. Save. At this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say npm run build. And this is where my heart might break because there might be an error. Or if the demo gods are impressed, there might be no errors. Because we did a lot of changes, right? In the last 5 to 6 minutes, we went into the control manifest.input file and I got an error. I got an error from none other than my friend known as ESLint. It means that I'm bad. I broke some rules. That's what I think it is. So let me try to fix this. This usually doesn't happen. It happens when I try to copy paste stuff. And it happens during live demo. So that's not good. I'll say, ESLint, my friend, don't complain, don't cry. Just let the demo go through. In the meantime, I think it's good. Perfect. So now if you get ESLint's error, just remember, now this is live troubleshooting between a session, which I don't expect to do, but if you get this error, you know that you need to just apply a rule and just turn it off, right? That's what you need to do. Now that we have done this, let's go back to the component and let's go ahead and build the popover component real quick. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the index.tx out here, and this is hello world, so that is good. I will use and create the popover component. What I'm going to do is I want to go ahead and find that code that I was writing. So let me quickly go. Let me find that code for the popover component and let me copy paste a bit of pieces from there, right? So I am scrolling through that code on my other screen. If you don't see it, it's fine. I have actually made a blog about this as well. So if you want to build it yourself, you can build it yourself later. I'm going to, and if you want to see, I'm going to copy parts like this, right? So I will just go here. I'll just paste it here. I think the interface is fine. What I'm going to do out here is I will create a functional component down. So this is actually a class-based React thing, but I'll create a functional component down here. Once I have the functional component, I'll use the component as a popover out here, right, in the label. This is good. The component seems to be created, and this is the whole code in short. And if this works, that would be great. So let's go ahead and see npm run build and npm start watch. Now, this is repetitive, but I want you to understand this. Whenever you do development, I personally write chunks of code and then see if it's working. I could have left this on, by the way, but I don't leave it on because for some reason I'm doing a live demo and I have memory spikes right now. You can just leave it at npm start watch and continue doing your development. It's up to you, right? It's what you want to do in most of the cases. So it's building. Perfect. And if you see, it tells me val. So I'll just type in, why does it say val? Because if I remove the val, it comes world because I said if there's no val, let's say world. Say GPBP, Global Power Bootcamp. I'll just say Delhi community. You are awesome. Right? If I scroll down, now it's GBPP. I click on it, it tells me Delhi community, you're awesome. Right? Here, my friends, you have built your popover component by using a Fluent UI control, right? It's easy. It's not that difficult. Understand this. I did use ChatGPT behind the scene when I was preparing for it, but it was not difficult. Okay, so your code is ready. Your code is ready. Your boss is happy. You want to go ahead and ship it. Now, if you're planning to go ahead and do some custom CSS and stuff, you might want to, let me remove this thing. We have not used this. You might want to use your custom CSS. In fact, do you want me to show the custom CSS? In fact, do we have enough time? Let me just quickly check. I think we'll skip the custom CSS. It's all right. Here, if you see that you can create your custom CSS file and you can reference it if you want to. Okay, you can create your custom CSS, uncomment this, put it here, and create your custom CSS file. In fact, we'll just quickly create it and we'll ask our friend, none other than ChatGPT, to actually create some CSS for me. So I'll say CSS, what's the name of the file? I can just quickly do it. Now, this is what we are doing is we might go against the rules of Microsoft with the UI, right? But let's do that. Let's play with it. So I will go ahead and just write some custom CSS here, right? The custom CSS is in here, so that's good. I'll go back into my hello world.ts. I will need to change this so that it refers my CSS classes. So let me see how I can do that. So here it is. If I just go back here, remove this, it uses my custom CSS classes. Think it should be good. So basically, if you want to use custom CSS, I repeat, go back into the control manifest.input file, uncomment this line, right? That's the first thing that you do. You go and create a folder based on the path out here. If you want to change the path, change the path, and then create a CSS file, paste in your CSS, go back into your code component, and once you are into the hello world.txt, add your component, add your CSS classes to your code, and it should have the CSS rendered, right? That's how easy it can be, right? Now, if you're going to go ahead and do it using ChatGPT, you can create it. I created one using ChatGPT, and let's see how does it look. Doesn't look bad though, but it's okay. So here you see it tells me, it gives me a button, tells me Delhi community, you're awesome, right? It also gives me some effect. So I have applied custom CSS to my control as well. Now that's pretty cool. I can apply custom CSS. Now, next what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a folder, mkdir, and I'm going to say, oops, I wanted to hit tab, but it went in the wrong direction. Pop over solution. I'll hit enter, right? I'll do a CD and I'll go into the pop over solution. I am into the solutions folder. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to initialize the solution. So what I'm going to do is copy this and paste it here. So I will initialize the solution, give my solution a solution name, and I'm also going to go ahead and give it a publisher name. I'm not going to give a solution name. I'm going to give a publisher name and a publisher prefix. So I'll show you that. And it tells me the length should be between blah, blah, blah. Okay. I cannot have a big publisher name. This was quite a good error. Okay. It looked bad, but it was good. So understand the publisher, the length of the publisher prefix, not the publisher name, should be between 2 and 8. Mine was more than 8. If your project has been provisioned well enough, you will get this, or else you will get some other error, right? I went into the wrong pane. I'll go back into the terminal. Now what I want to do is I want to add a reference to the, I want to add a reference. So I'll again use pack solution and I will type in add dash reference. Why am I even typing this? I should actually copy paste it, right? And I'll add reference to my project. So I'll go into the project folder, copy this, go back here, paste it in, enter. So this should add a reference to my project. Now, if you see, my project reference has been added successfully. I'll open my developer prompt. You can also have build tools in your Power Apps, but I will go into the developer prompt. I will go into the popover solution. I'll copy this and I'll say CD, go here. It didn't go there because I need to do a D. So CLS. So here I am into it. And now I want to go ahead and do an MS build and actually build this project. So I'll say MS build space / T restore, enter. Now, this might take some time depending on my project. This might, okay, it didn't take time. It worked pretty quickly. And I can now do an MS build. Let's see if this works. So if everything works as expected, we should have a package. A package will be in the form of zip that we can go ahead and import it into none other than our own Power Apps tenant, and we can start using it. So we are nearly good. I think we are good. Not nearly good. We are good. So here, if you see, it is the popover solution is created in this particular folder. So what have you learned up till now, right? You have also learned how to package the solution. We are talking about packaging the solution. Where is the zip folder, by the way? It's under, where's the zip folder? It's under bin debug. So it's under bin debug, and this is it. This is it. I'm going to do a shift right click and I'm going to say copy as path. I'll go into my Power Apps environment and I can actually try to import the solution. So I'll click on solutions and I'll click on import solution. I'll click on browse solution. Just paste this in and I'll say next. Okay, this will import the solution. Now, and I need to click on import as well. This will take its own time. Let it take its own time. Now, if you want to go ahead and use the PCF in your Power, in none other than, in none other than your Canvas app, you need to go ahead and enable a feature. And that's what I'm going to show you. So I went to admin.powerplatform.onmicrosoft.com. I clicked on environments. I select one environment, that is my environment. I go into none other than, I need to go into settings. I need to go into Products, features, I want to turn on a feature. I have turned it on, but if you haven't, then this is the feature that you're looking at. Power Apps Component Framework for Canvas app. Go ahead and turn on that feature. Right? The solution is getting imported. I will quickly check if there are any questions. If not, then that's all right. Um, any questions, you can unmute and ask me. If you're looking for inspiration as well, as I told you, PCF Gallery is the place. PCF Gallery. This is where you can get a lot of inspiration, right, for what you are trying to build. I'll tell you a pro tip out here. If you're trying to build something, first search the PCF Gallery. If you don't find it in PCF Gallery, you will at least find an inspiration. When I say inspiration, you can get into each and everything. For example, I'll just click on author. And if you see there are multiple authors, even I'm an author out here, I usually try to, so this is my code. If you want to go ahead and see what is behind the code, you can just click on download and you can actually go ahead and look at the source code as well. So you can actually copy code or even get important pieces of code ready-made for you. In the meantime, this has been deployed and here you see there is a PCF gallery. Go ahead and use the gallery to your benefit to create solutions quicker, right? That's what I want you to do. I don't want you to go ahead and bang your head against the wall and try to go ahead and create something which is already there. You might just want to copy paste it and use it in your application. So it's publishing all the customization. So understand this. You package it, you import it, and you publish it. Unless you go ahead and publish it, it will not be visible. Okay. That's something that I want to tell you. The publishing is done. How do you use it? First, in your Canvas app, you go to create a Canvas app, create from blank, type in a meaningful name, not like me, TESST, instead of test, type something nice, something meaningful. I'm not creating a production app, or else I'm very careful. I like my naming conventions. Okay. So what I can do is I can click on plus, and once you enable this, you can get this option, get more code components. I'll click on code components, and here, my friend, this is the code component that we just created, right? Few minutes back together. Okay. I'll say together because all of you who have sticked along, thank you very much. I hope that you're learning something new. Okay. And I hope that I am making sense as well. Oh, the component is here. It's a fancy component, not pretty. It might not be that helpful, but it is. You can make changes to the width and height. I have not done that, but you can do it. You can also pass in fields. So let's go ahead and say the same thing. GPPP, that stands for Global Power Platform Bootcamp. Delhi community. I'll say pop over text. You are awesome. Why am I saying that Delhi community is awesome? I myself run a user group. Trust me, these events take a lot of time from your life away, right? So I know how much Dhruvan goes ahead and puts in efforts, maybe RO, etc. It takes a lot of time, lots of efforts, lots of patience to get this. So we should go ahead and recognize them. And this is my control, which actually recognizes them in a nice way, saying that GBPP, Delhi community, you are awesome. And yes, you are awesome, right? So that's how you integrate a control in your Canvas app. Now, how do you integrate the control in your model-driven app? Do I want to save it? I don't want to save it, right? But I will go ahead and show you how you can do it. So I have created a model-driven app. So my model-driven app's name is the Party Planning app because after Global Power Platform Bootcamp is a party on its own, right? It's the biggest party when it comes to the low-code events. What I want to do is, I do want to do that. I can go into the party planning app. I'll go into the solution. I will go into tables. I'll go into the event table. If I'm running out of time, Dhruvan, shout out. I can wrap it up almost in a minute or so, but I just wanted to show them how to integrate the control. You go to the forms, right? And the form control is already integrated. I did some up. I created another control as I told you I practiced, but here it is. How did I add the control? I can actually add the control using the modern UI as well. So I can click here and go to components and I can bind the component. But if you want to have more control, like I usually want to have, I usually go here, go into this random control, click on controls, click on add controls, search for my popover control, popover control, popper component that we just created, add and bind it to fields. That's why it's bound, right? I don't know what these fields are, but I'm just clicking on it. That will it will honor any single line of text field. Save it, publish it. It's also there in your model driven apps. And I think that's pretty much it. I hope that my session was informative. Thank you for your time. Thank you, User Group Delhi, for having me. Again, I really love you guys. I also run a user group, so maybe at some point I will invite you as well. And yeah, any questions, unmute, ask me, and thank you.
Thank you
Hello.
so much, Kevin. Yeah,
Okay,
I'm Rajan.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
there is a question from Sanju sir.
hmm
Yes, sir.
Hey, Clevin, this was fantastic, man.
Thank you.
Quick one. Is it possible to package APIs into this?
Uh,
So the
mhm,
point is this, as of now, to run all my IoT stuff, I basically use a function app and dump the function app into a custom connector and use it in my Power App.
mhm.
So could I get away with not using either of them and just put it in a PCF?
I think you can. Dhruvin can also go ahead and confirm that, but I would rather use a custom connector because I have more control over it. And why I would use a custom connector over something like this. I will struggle with one thing that is hiding my API key. This is front end logic, right? PCF is front end logic. So if
Yeah.
someone is intelligent, they go into the browser, right click, inspect, look into your
Uh-huh.
JavaScript code, look into it and grab your API key, and then they do fancy things with it. Especially when it comes to the Azure AI API keys, people tell me, Clevin, why are you doing the popper component? And I use something similar. I write my code in the backend logic in
Yeah.
function,
Yeah.
call it in the front end and display it, but I write it in the backend. Ruin, you want to add something, you can, but that's
See,
most my answer.
gotcha. I mean, the reason before Rowan gets to it, the reason is for me, time is of essence, because all of this ding dong takes time
I know.
in milliseconds. So I'm trying to see if I can actually get down to microseconds. That's where I'm going. Well, I suppose, Satya just released quantum,
Mhm.
so we're getting there. But Dhruvin, all yours, buddy. Thanks, Clevin. Understand, buddy. Understand your
Yeah, I would not use it in production that way. I would rather use a connector and also a
gotcha.
function, but
Yeah,
Dhruvin, over to you.
yeah, gotcha, buddy.
I
Yeah,
think PCF is something which is not my subject matter expertise. So, I mean, no idea on that apart. I'm also using the same custom connector.
custom connector, right?
So, yeah, I'm not big fan of doing this too much of code.
I
Yeah,
understand.
because I haven't get a chance to work on that kind of situation.
Right,
So,
right.
yeah.
It's
Uh,
interesting you say that, Dhruvin, because everybody says in the world of ChatGPT, you're actually going to use less code. To me, I've gone the other
Hmm.
way.
110%. What did I start with my session? I'm not a developer. I understand code. I can write code a little bit, but now I'm presenting on React, right? Uh,
That's
Yeah.
right.
I
Yeah,
think ChatGPT is a blessing in disguise for
yeah,
all of
yeah,
us, the
yeah,
low code people, right?
yeah.
So anyone out here who says like ChatGPT will end up writing less code. I myself end up writing more
Yeah, I
code
mean,
now.
and it's just the
Yeah,
opposite. And the amazing thing is you get to actually see the optimization, that is the amazing thing
correct.
is, yeah.
Yes.
But thank you very much. Very informational. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other
Mm,
questions?
I think we are all good. We don't have much more questions, so all good. But yeah, thank you so much, Clevin, for this amazing session. And I know, like, when we are selecting your sessions and everything, we release our first studio and we thought like, okay, we should never miss Clevin session. So thanks for accepting last moment. And I mean, whole thing goes really well, and we are happy to host you. And like our tradition, we'll also want you to be a part in more and more sessions in the future as well.
Thank you very much. And thank you for your kind words as well. I think Sayed has a question.
Yeah.
Sayed, you can
Hi,
unmute. Mhm.
hi, Kelvin. It's a very good session. Thank you for giving us the chance to learn more about PCF controls.
Mhm.
Uh, my question is that how does it affect the performance of the app?
Okay, performance of the app. Very good question. That's why you should use the virtual component and not the standard component. Logic out here. If you use the standard component, a normal code component, it's known as the face file component. It's there on the Microsoft. It takes 28 seconds for something to happen, right? Which is bad. Or 28 milliseconds, not 28 seconds. So it comes down to 6 milliseconds. So if you're planning to create performant apps, you need to use the React virtual component, and that will not much affect your apps. But if you're using a standard component, it will affect your app performance to a little bit. That's that's my take on things. Next week, I'm going to prepare an app which actually uses a third-party WASM. If you know what is WASM, WASM stands for WebAssembly, which is a client-side thing. And I'm going to create a full-fledged PDF editor. As I told you, the session will be available, means we are opening the reservations for the session from today because I just wanted to get it announced. We are going to talk about performance in that to pretty much extend. I'll actually show you on how a virtual component is better performant than a standard component. But yes, it really depends on the component at some point on how much CSS and JavaScript you're using as well. But it will not be a disaster, trust me. It's good if you're using
Okay.
virtual component. And this is the session that I'm doing next week with another one. This is my user group. I think Dhruvin, you know that, and maybe at some point I'll invite you as well. Started a user group in the UK.
That's great, Clement.
So
Great, great. Thank you so much.
anyone wants to learn more about PCF next week, sign up for this, and I'll be doing another session which is basically an SDK integrated in a PCF. That's what I'm trying to do. And yeah.
Okay, Clavin, one more question. Could you please let us know what are the popular components regular basis people are using PCF? So we are just using Power Apps out of the box components and using that way only. So we are not building any components or something. So what are the popular component that we can use it?
Okay, I don't have an answer for that. I create PCF components and I just deliver it to our team.
Okay.
Our team basically uses PCF for rendering documents, etc. But as I told you, the inspiration is here. I'll show you the inspiration again. The inspiration is the PCF gallery. This one, you can see the downloads, I guess, how many people downloaded or accessed it. And it really comes on your requirement. One of the PCF control which I used previously, which was not there, I used to use the QR components. I also used to use the snapshot component. Before, there was no PDF
Hmm.
function in Power Apps. So I used to use the snapshot component. I think it was written by Yash Agarwal or Ritika Agarwal. And it was like really cool. click on a button, it takes a snapshot and downloads the whole screen onto your desktop. So there are multiple things. It really depends on your use case. So what do you think? Like where do you think that the out of box control falls short? That's where you go ahead and use a PCF. Where you
Okay.
think that now it cannot happen at the out of the box, now you'll go ahead and use a PCF, or it's too difficult to create one, which is causing performance problems.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your information. Thank you.
Sorry, I couldn't answer give you a closed
No
answer
problem.
because, as Ruin said, I unfortunately I don't create a lot of power apps. I end up creating. Okay, so just a background for me. I work at Nutrient. We have got three connectors, official connectors with Microsoft. Nutrient Document Converter. Dhruvin, is there time or am I
Yeah, you
wasting
can
some?
take your time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have Nutrient Document Connector, we have got the Aquaforest connector, and we also have got the connector a new connector is coming related to our workflow product. We are building a product which can actually replace Power Platform. So we built a whole product around that as well. And I am involved in all of them. So I'm basically working in the back end of things where how to create a connector, etc., etc. So any of you have any questions related to connectors, building them, how to use SOAP API with Azure Functions, how to use Wishdle with Azure Functions, how to create I would say, an open API definition, hit me up. I should be able to answer those questions of yours.
Sure. Thank you, Clavin. Thank you, Clavin, for your explanation.
Thank you. No problem. Any other
Thanks
questions?
a lot. Anyone else has any other question? So I think we are pretty much good, and I think we are ending today's sessions with a very happy count of the attendees. Like still so far, I can see 22 people with us in the teams. That's a good number. It's right now 9:30 p.m. in India. It's almost weekend, so thank you so much everyone for being
Yeah.
with us so far.
Thank you very much. And yeah, you people might be hungry. So thank you again. And bye. Bye, Dhruvin.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you so much, Clevin.
Thank you, Clavin.
And
Thank you,
yep.
Dhruvin.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And I would like to hand over the stage to Rajendra just for final